let's be honest, not every car is built to last. Some vehicles aren't just bad, they're disasters hiding behind a shiny badge and a low sticker price. And the worst part? You probably know someone who's fallen for one of these money pits. Maybe it even was you. These cars might have looked decent on the surface. Maybe they were marketed as affordable, reliable, or even sporty. But once you got behind the wheel, reality hit like a blown head gasket. Constant repairs, cheap parts, horrendous build quality, and the soul-crushing feeling of buyer's remorse. These aren't just cars, they're ticking time bombs waiting to drain your wallet and break your spirit. Today, we're exposing the worst offenders. Cars that should have been recalled by common sense alone. If you're shopping for a used car, pay close attention, because owning one of these might seem like a bargain until it's too late. Some cars just aren't worth your money or your time. They break down fast, cost a fortune to fix, and lose value faster than you can blink. In this video, we're counting down 20 cars you should never buy. Vehicles so bad, they've earned a permanent spot on the do not touch list. If you're thinking about buying a used car, watch this first. It could save you thousands. Number 1. 2001-2003 Oldsmobile Alero. The Oldsmobile Alero was supposed to be GM's answer to the compact sports sedan, a stylish, affordable option for younger buyers. Instead, it became one of the most disappointing vehicles of the early 2000s. It looked aggressive, sure, with its swoopy lines and faux performance vibe. But once you sat inside, it was clear this was all show and no substance. The interior was plagued with cheap materials, rattling panels, and faulty electronics. The radio displays often failed. Power windows stopped working. The dashboard, known for cracking before the car even hit 80,000 miles. And while the engines weren't terrible on paper, they suffered from intake manifold gasket leaks, a costly and common issue. But it wasn't just the mechanical problems, it was the brand behind it. Oldsmobile was on its last legs, and the Alero was one of the last gasps before the brand died entirely in 2004. That meant weak resale value, shrinking parts availability, and almost no aftermarket support. Today, the Alero is remembered less for what it was and more for what it represented. A forgotten brand building forgettable cars. If you see one on a used lot, walk the other way. Number 2. BMW 7 Series, 2002-2008. At first glance, the BMW 7 Series looks like the ultimate power move. Executive presence, plush interiors, and a V8 or V12 under the hood that promises silky smooth acceleration. It feels like a private jet on wheels, until reality smacks you in the face with a repair bill that could buy another car. These models came loaded with advanced tech for the time, like the infamous iDrive system, which was barely functional even when new. Now, it's a glitchy nightmare. Air suspension failures, electrical problems, and endless engine issues turn this luxury icon into a mechanical minefield. And don't think a basic service will be cheap. Even simple oil leaks can cost thousands in labor due to the car's complex layout. What's worse? These cars depreciate faster than you can say German engineering. That tempting low price on the used market hides a harsh truth. You're not buying a car, you're signing up for a financial sinkhole. Unless you're ready to spend sports car money just to keep a 20-year-old BMW alive, walk away before it drives off with your sanity. Number 3. Mercedes-Benz S-Class, W220, 2000-2006. The S-Class has always been the symbol of automotive excellence, but the W220 generation? It's more like a cautionary tale wrapped in leather and chrome. Elegant on the outside, revolutionary on paper, and an absolute nightmare when it comes to maintenance. It came with cutting-edge tech like the Coman infotainment system, airmatic suspension, and adaptive features that felt like magic in the early 2000s. But that magic fades quickly when systems start failing. The suspension alone can cost over $3,000 per corner to repair. Electrical gremlins begin to haunt the dashboard around 70,000 miles, turning the car into a Christmas tree of warning lights. Sure, you may feel like a diplomat cruising down the highway, but off warranty, this car acts like a diva, demanding, unpredictable, and shockingly expensive. Buying one is like rescuing a retired celebrity, glamorous, but emotionally and financially exhausting. If you're not wealthy or mechanically gifted, run, don't walk away. Number 4. Range Rover Sport, 2006-2013. The Range Rover Sport sells a dream. rugged luxury, British class, off-road dominance. But that dream ends the moment the dashboard lights up like Times Square. Underneath the premium exterior is a long list of fragile components just waiting to fail. The air suspension collapses without warning, and repairs aren't just expensive, they're inevitable. Transmission issues, overheating engines, faulty differentials, the list goes on. Even something simple like a water pump replacement can run into the thousands due to cramped engine bays and labor-intensive repairs. This isn't just an unreliable SUV, it's a mechanical soap opera. And it doesn't care if you're ready for the drama. Once you own it, the bills pile up fast, and resale value drops like a rock. Unless you're prepared to pour endless money into keeping it alive, you're better off with something less royal and a lot more reliable. Number 5. Audi A8 2004-2010. If looks could kill, the Audi A8 would be lethal. It's sleek, elegant, and moves like a bullet train on the Autobahn. But once you pop the hood or face your first repair, the illusion shatters. This isn't a car. It's a ticking time bomb wearing an Armani suit. The A8 is infamous for timing chain tensioner failures, which require engine-out service. We're talking $5,000 to $8,000 minimum. The complex aluminum bodywork makes even minor accidents a wallet-crushing ordeal. And don't even think about DIY repairs. Even replacing the battery can involve removing multiple interior panels and reprogramming systems. This car was engineered for perfection, but not for long-term ownership. Once it's out of warranty, it turns into a high-tech horror movie where every trip to the mechanic feels like a jump scare. Buying a used one might seem like a deal, until you realize it's a deal with the devil. Hey, quick pause for just a seco. Orti, are you enjoying the content? Is this helping you avoid a car that could end up costing you thousands down the line? If so, let me know in the comments. Seriously, just type, "loving this," or tell me which car surprised you the most so far. Your comment isn't just feedback, it helps more people find this video, and that means more drivers making smarter choices. This is how we grow this car smart community. People helping people, sharing real experiences, and exposing the stuff that dealerships never talk about. And while you're down there, do me a quick favor. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, Ask Kate, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next time we break down the truth about what's really worth your money. Now, back to the list. The next car might be one you've been seriously thinking about, and you're going to want to hear why it could be a huge mistake. Number 6. Maserati Quattroporte, 2004-2012. Few names evoke exotic power and class like Maserati. The Quattroporte looks like it belongs in Monaco, parked outside a casino. But behind that seductive styling lies one of the most infamous maintenance nightmares in modern car history. Early models featured the Duo Select automated manual transmission, a system so jerky, clunky, and failure-prone that it's often the first thing owners regret. Suspension components wear out absurdly fast. Electronic failures are common. And because it's Italian, even simple parts take weeks to ship and cost a small fortune. It's not just about the money, it's the emotional toll. Constant trips to specialty shops, parts on backorder, and bills that make your accountant sweat. That $20,000 used Maserati you scored on Craigslist? It's a trap. You don't own a Quattroporte. It owns you. Number 7. 2007-2012 Dodge Caliber. The Dodge Caliber is not just one of the worst Dodge models ever made. It's one of the worst cars of its entire era. It promised bold styling and affordability, but in reality, it delivered a punishing driving experience, a miserable interior, and a long list of mechanical problems. From day one, this car was a walking red flag. The CVT was terrible. Whiny, laggy, and prone to early failure, it stripped any semblance of enjoyment from the drive. The steering was numb, the ride quality was harsh, and the brakes felt squishy. It didn't feel safe. It didn't feel reliable. It didn't even feel finished. Inside, it was a mess. Cheap plastic covered everything, not just cheap looking, but sharp-edged and fragile. The seats were stiff, road noise was unbearable, and the tech, if you were lucky enough to get any, was outdated within months. It wasn't just unpleasant, it felt like a punishment. Owners quickly realized they'd made a mistake. Electrical failures, leaking sunroofs, suspension clunks, and failing alternators became common. Mechanics hated working on it. Resale value plummeted. Even Dodge quietly distanced itself from the Caliber before replacing it with the Dart, another troubled model. The Caliber wasn't just bad, it was a betrayal. a vehicle that promised to be bold and affordable, and instead became a warning sign for used buyers everywhere. If there's one car on this list you absolutely must avoid, this is it. Number 8. 2006 Chevrolet Monte Carlo. This was supposed to be a rebirth of a legend. The Monte Carlo name carried weight, a heritage of NASCAR, muscle cars, and style. But the early 2002 version was none of that. It was bloated, bland, and burdened with GM's worst traits: cheap materials, awful electronics, and a sloppy driving experience. From the outside, it looked like a shadow of its former self. Gone were the muscular lines and assertive stance. In their place, a bulbous body and front-wheel drive layout that stripped it of everything that made the old Monte Carlo iconic. It had the name, but none of the soul. The engine lineup offered some promise, especially the SS with its supercharged V6. But torque steer, weak suspension, and poor weight distribution meant the car couldn't handle its own power. It felt more like a soft commuter than a performance coupe. And if you weren't lucky, you'd end up with the base model, slow, inefficient, and forgettable. On the inside, it was more of the same. Faded fabrics, squeaky dashboards, and electronics that constantly broke down. The power windows were infamous for failing. The instrument clusters glitched regularly, and the seats felt like they were borrowed from a waiting room. The Monte Carlo wasn't just a disappointment, it was an insult to a once glorious nameplate. GM tried to cash in on nostalgia, and what they delivered was a pale imitation of greatness. For muscle car fans, it hurt. And for used car buyers, it became one more lesson in don't trust the badge. Number 8. 2001-2005 Pontiac Aztec. You probably saw this one coming. The Pontiac Aztec has been the butt of jokes for years, and for good reason. While it's now ironically adored by meme culture and Breaking Bad fans, in reality, the Aztec was a confusing, poorly built crossover that tried to do too much and failed at nearly all of it. Let's start with the styling. It wasn't just ugly, it was offensively bad. The awkward proportions, the split headlights, the rear end that looked like a melted ice cream cone, it was hard to tell what Pontiac was even aiming for. The interior didn't help either. Weird shapes, cheap materials, and ergonomics that made no sense. Mechanically, things weren't any better. The 3.4-liter V6 was lethargic and prone to intake manifold gasket failures. The transmission felt sluggish, and the AWD system was more of a marketing tool than a real performance upgrade. Driving the Aztec felt like dragging a refrigerator uphill, underpowered, uninspiring, and heavy. But even more frustrating, it almost could have been good. It had interesting features, a cooler between the seats, a tent option, and a versatile cargo area. But the execution was so poor, so uninspired, that those gimmicks couldn't save it. Owners were left with a car they couldn't be proud of and couldn't get rid of. The Aztec was supposed to usher in a new era of adventurous crossovers. Instead, it became a cautionary tale of what happens when a brand tries too hard to be edgy without listening to actual drivers. Today, it's a rolling reminder that not every risk pays off, especially in the automotive world. Number 10. 2001-2005 Mitsubishi Eclipse, 3rd generation. The Eclipse used to be cool. The early models were sporty, sharp, and beloved by tuners. But by the 3rd generation, Mitsubishi lost the plot entirely. What was once a sleek, agile coupe became a bloated, underperforming embarrassment. It looked like a sports car, but drove like a soggy marshmallow. The problem wasn't just the loss of performance, it was the total lack of identity. It came with a heavy body, vague steering, and underwhelming engines that made it feel sluggish, even in its GT guise. And don't even mention the automatic transmission. Slow, lazy shifts completely killed any fun the car might have had. This was a wannabe sports car, with none of the soul. The interior was another punch in the gut. Cheap plastics, dated gauges, and a seating position that felt awkward no matter how you adjusted it. The rear seats were basically useless, and outward visibility was abysmal. It looked futuristic from the outside, but behind the wheel, it was like driving a mistake. Then came the issues: premature clutch failures, constant sensor malfunctions, power window problems, and head gasket nightmares. For a car meant to represent fun and freedom, it sure spent a lot of time stuck in the shop or listed as is on Craigslist. This generation of Eclipse didn't just fail as a sports car, it betrayed its own legacy. Enthusiasts abandoned it, daily drivers regretted it, and Mitsubishi, they never recovered from this misfire. If you want a reminder of what happens when a car company stops listening to its fans, look no further. Number 10. 2001-2009 Kia Rio, first and second gen. If there was ever a car that embodied bare minimum, it was the early 2002 Kia Rio. Yes, it was cheap, dirt cheap, but that low price came at a steep cost: your sanity. The Rio was slow, noisy, fragile, and outdated even by early 2002 standards. It looked like a rental you'd pray not to get, and drove like it was always on the verge of falling apart. Let's talk power, or lack thereof. The tiny 1.6-liter engine struggled under any kind of load, and highway driving was a white-knuckle experience. You had to floor it to merge, and still pray a semi didn't come barreling behind you. The suspension was soft and wallowy, giving you that seasick feeling over bumps and turns. It felt unsafe, unsteady, and completely unrefined. But the real betrayal came in the build quality. Door handles snapped, headliners sagged, electrical components failed without warning. And forget about comfort, the seats were like sitting on folded pizza boxes, and road noise was so bad you couldn't even hold a conversation without yelling. Then came the reliability nightmare. Timing belts failed prematurely, engine seals leaked like a sieve, and the resale value practically non-existent. You couldn't give these cars away, even when they were just a few years old. Mechanics knew what was coming the moment one rolled into the shop: a long list of repairs and a very unhappy owner. Kia's come a long way since then, but this car, this was the dark ages. If you see one, keep walking. No deal, no matter how cheap, is worth the avalanche of regret the Rio delivers. Number 12. 2001-2005 Ford Taurus, 4th generation. Once a sales juggernaut in the 92nd, the Taurus completely lost its footing by the early 2002nd. This generation was bloated, bland, and mechanically troubled. It traded the innovative styling of earlier models for an anonymous, rental fleet look that faded into the background. The interior was dated even at launch, with clunky switchgear and uncomfortable seating. Performance was dull, the engine lineup lacked refinement, and the transmission was one of its biggest liabilities. Slipping gears, hard shifts, and premature failures became the norm. Suspension and steering issues further eroded confidence behind the wheel. But it wasn't just the driving experience, it was the ownership experience. Rust issues, coolant leaks, warped rotors, and failing HVAC systems made long-term reliability a nightmare. Even simple repairs were expensive due to poor component access and aging parts. Today, these Tauruses are mostly seen rotting in driveways or limping around town, often with check engine lights glowing like Christmas trees. They're not just outdated, they're outclassed in every way. What was once America's best-selling car became a symbol of missed potential and mechanical regret. Number 13. 2004-2007 Chevrolet Malibu, 6th generation. This generation of Malibu was GM's attempt to reclaim mid-size sedan glory, and it fell flat on its face. While the exterior looked unassuming, the real disappointment began the moment you stepped inside. The cabin was bleak and uninspired, with hard plastics, a clunky dash design, and cheap-feeling controls. It didn't just lack luxury, it lacked soul. Under the hood, things weren't any better. The base 4-cylinder was slow, unrefined, and noisy. The V6 variant offered more power, but suffered from poor fuel economy and known reliability issues. Transmission failures, power steering malfunctions, and electrical gremlins were far too common. Owners also reported persistent issues with suspension components, clunks, rattles, and worn bushings became routine. And while GM did update the Malibu with better materials and improved tech in later generations, this model was a low point. Worse still, resale value collapsed. You could pick one up for under $2,000 within just a few years of production and still feel ripped off. The 6th Gen Malibu didn't just disappoint, it pushed people away from GM sedans entirely. Number 14. 2007-2012 Jeep Compass, 1st generation. Jeep built its name on ruggedness, reliability, and off-road heritage. The Compass, unfortunately, lived up to none of that. It was Jeep's first attempt at a crossover, and it showed. Built on a compact car platform shared with the Dodge Caliber, the Compass looked awkward, drove poorly, and felt nothing like a Jeep. The off-road capability was nearly non-existent. Most models didn't even come with AWD, and the ones that did offered laughable ground clearance. The interior was even worse. Cheap, plastic, poorly fitted panels, and uncomfortable seats made the cabin feel more like a toy than a utility vehicle. It didn't just feel cheap, it was cheap. Under the hood, the Compass suffered from underpowered engines, made it to one of the worst CVTs in the industry. Acceleration was sluggish, the engine droned loudly under load, and fuel economy was mediocre at best. Road noise was excessive, and the ride quality was stiff and jarring. Reliability? A disaster. Frequent transmission failures, wheel bearing issues, and electrical gremlins plagued the Compass's first-gen run. Dealerships saw them come back again and again for problems that never seemed to go away. It got so bad that Jeep practically disowned this generation once the redesign came. Today, the Compass is a reminder that not every Jeep is built to last. It was a branding misfire, an SUV in name only. If you want the Jeep badge, get a Wrangler. If you want reliability, get something else entirely. Number 15. 2004-2008 Chrysler Sebring, third generation. The Chrysler Sebring had potential. It had sleek lines, a bold front end, and the allure of a convertible option. But peel back that styling, and what you found was one of the most poorly executed midsize cars of its time. The interior was cheap and cramped. The steering wheel felt like plastic from a toy store, and the seats were unsupportive for anything beyond a quick grocery run. The engines were equally disappointing. Whether you had the 4-cylinder or the optional V6, performance was sluggish and rough. Acceleration was weak, throttle response was clumsy, and the automatic transmission shifted with the grace of a malfunctioning vending machine. Driving the Sebring felt like a battle against poor engineering, and then came the repairs. Water leaks in the convertible models were a known nightmare, leading to moldy interiors and electrical failures. Dashboards cracked, power windows failed, and AC systems gave up without warning. Even routine maintenance often unveiled deeper issues. By the time Chrysler refreshed the Sebring, its reputation was already in shambles. It became the poster child for rental car mediocrity, the kind of car you'd get stuck with on vacation and spend the whole trip regretting. Today, it's a relic of Chrysler's worst years and a cautionary tale for anyone looking at a cheap, used convertible. Number 16. 2006-2011 Chevrolet Avenue EO. The Chevrolet Aveo was marketed as the perfect budget commuter, small, fuel-efficient, and affordable. But what you got in return was one of the most cheaply built vehicles ever sold in America. From the moment you stepped inside, you could feel the cost-cutting in every detail. Brittle plastics, hollow doors, and cloth seats that felt like sandpaper. Driving the Aveo wasn't just uninspiring, it was borderline depressing. It wasn't just a boring drive, it was a frustrating one. The engine was underpowered, struggling to accelerate even in city traffic. Highway merges felt like a gamble. The suspension was so soft it bottomed out on speed bumps, and the steering was vague at best. And while it was supposed to be fuel efficient, real-world mileage often underwhelmed. But the real kicker was reliability. Timing belt failures, electrical glitches, and failing sensors were all too common. And repairs weren't always cheap. Parts were hard to find and labor costs added up quickly. The Aveo may have been cheap up front, but it bled owners dry over time. Even worse? Safety. Crash tests revealed a car that crumpled like a soda can, and the lack of side airbags in many trims was alarming. For young drivers or families on a budget, this was more risk than reward. The Aveo wasn't just a bad car, it was a dangerous compromise. Today, the Aveo sits at the bottom of every used car ranking. It's not just undesirable, it's infamous. The kind of car mechanics warn you about, and used lots try to offload on unsuspecting buyers. Avoid it at all costs. Number 17. 2004-2007 Saturn Ion. Saturn was once GM's golden child, the quirky, consumer-friendly brand with plastic body panels and space-age marketing. But by the time the Ion arrived, the magic was gone. The Ion was supposed to be a fresh, youthful, compact car. Instead, it felt unfinished. The center-mounted instrument cluster was confusing, the ride quality was harsh, and the cabin, dull, cramped, and full of flimsy components. Reliability was abysmal. Ignition switch issues were so bad they became part of one of GM's most infamous recalls. Steering problems, suspension failures, and faulty fuel systems added to the misery. Even basic maintenance often led to unexpected surprises due to the Ion's unconventional design. Despite decent gas mileage, the driving experience was lackluster. The electric power steering system lacked feel, and the car felt unstable at higher speeds. It was the kind of car that made you second-guess your decision every time you turned the key. Today, the Ion is a forgotten chapter in GM's history, and for good reason. Most ended up scrapped before reaching 150,000 miles. They're not just outdated, they're cautionary tales on wheels. You couldn't pay most people to take one home. 2005-2009 Pontiac G6. The Pontiac G6 was supposed to breathe new life into the brand. A stylish, sporty, mid-size sedan with an attractive price tag and decent performance. But what GM delivered was a rushed, underwhelming car that aged horribly. The base models were sluggish, and while the GTP offered more horsepower, it still didn't feel composed or rewarding to drive. It was all show, no go. Reliability was another sore point. Electrical issues plagued the G6, from faulty power windows to malfunctioning turn signals and erratic gauges. The steering column was notoriously problematic, with clunking noises and failures reported early in ownership. Interiors felt cheap and wore out quickly, especially in sun-exposed areas where plastics would crack and peel. While GM tried to market the G6 as a cool, youthful sedan, even giving it a high-profile debut on Oprah's show, the reality was far less glamorous. Within a few years, resale values plummeted and public perception soured. The G6 became synonymous with rental car misery. Today, you'll see G6 second in junkyards or sitting for months unsold in used car lots. It's a reminder of how GM's late 2000s second design and quality issues helped sink the Pontiac brand for good. A stylish failure that never lived up to the hype. Number 19. 2007-2010 Dodge Nitro. The Dodge Nitro looked aggressive and rugged, like a scaled-down Hummer for the urban jungle. But underneath that boxy bravado was a mid-size SUV riddled with flaws. The ride was harsh, the handling was clumsy, and the cabin felt like it was pieced together in a rush. It may have looked tough, but it drove like a dinosaur. Engine options were underwhelming, especially in the base trim. Acceleration was poor, and fuel economy was abysmal for its size. Reliability? Even worse. Owners complained of failing differentials, brake system issues, transmission problems, and electrical gremlins that seemed impossible to diagnose. The interior wasn't just outdated, it was flat-out unpleasant. Long-term ownership became a nightmare. Parts availability began to dwindle after Dodge killed off the model in 2012, and resale values plunged. What was once a $25,000 SUV could now barely fetch $3,000, and that's if it wasn't already falling apart. Mechanics warned customers that repairs could easily outweigh the vehicle's value. The Nitro might have turned heads when it was new, but today it only turns stomachs. It's a harsh lesson in how bold styling can't cover up fundamental design failures. If you see one in the classifieds, run the other way. Number 21. 2007-2011 Nissan Versa, first generation. At first glance, the Nissan Versa seemed like a solid bet, cheap, spacious, and fuel efficient. It was a car aimed at first-time buyers, students, or anyone looking to get from point A to B on a budget. But the moment you drove one, you realized why it was so affordable. The first-gen Versa wasn't just bare bones, it was depressing. From the paper-thin doors to the lifeless steering, everything about it screamed cost-cutting. Mechanical issues were widespread. The CVT transmission, a weak spot for many Nissans of this era, often failed before 100,000 miles, leading to costly repairs that easily exceeded the car's resale value. Interior materials deteriorated quickly, especially in warmer climates. Owners reported peeling dashboards, sagging headliners, and failing electronics within just a few years of ownership. And even though it was small, the Versa was oddly heavy, making the already weak engine feel even more sluggish. The driving experience was numb, no feedback, no excitement, just a loud, floaty commute. It was transportation in its most uninspired form. Worse still, crash safety ratings were underwhelming for rear passengers, making it a questionable choice for families. Today, you can find Versas selling for under $2,000, but with repair histories, that'll make your wallet cry. If you're looking for a reliable used compact, there are far better options than this forgettable footnote in Nissan's history. Cheap isn't always cheerful. Number 22. 2004-2009 Kia Spectra. Before Kia's remarkable turnaround, the Spectra embodied everything car shoppers feared in budget sedans. It was bland, cheaply built, and frighteningly unreliable. Its crash test ratings were below average, and interior quality was dismal. The automatic transmission was known to give out, often before hitting 100,000 miles, and major engine components were prone to premature failure. The cabin felt like an afterthought, with rock-hard seats, low-quality switches, and a layout that lacked any sense of design. Owners often complained of squeaks, rattles, and parts literally falling off. Mechanically, things weren't much better. Constant issues with brake systems, malfunctioning sensors, and suspension failures made the Spectra an endless money pit. Resale value is virtually non-existent. Many Spectras today are listed for under $1,500, and even at that price, buyers hesitate. Mechanics regularly warn against buying them, citing their poor durability and rising cost of replacement parts. Kia has since improved massively, but the Spectra remains a stain on its legacy. For many buyers, the Spectra was their first and last experience with the Kia brand during that era. It's a car best remembered as a warning, not a recommendation. Number 23. 2008-2012 Chrysler Sebring. The Chrysler Sebring from this era is often hailed as one of the worst sedans of its time, and it earned that title with flying colors. Its awkward proportions, uninspired driving dynamics, and underpowered engine options made it unappealing from the start. Step inside, and you're greeted with a sea of brittle plastics in a cabin so noisy it felt like the doors were made of cardboard. And the problems didn't stop at aesthetics. The Sebring was riddled with reliability issues. Electrical systems shorted out, suspension components failed early, and transmission woes were the norm, not the exception. Even the simplest tasks, like replacing a headlight or adjusting the seats, became exercises in frustration. Reviews were brutal, with some calling it the worst car money can buy. What's more, the Sebring tanked in resale. Dealers couldn't give them away. Mechanics warned buyers to stay far away unless they had a second car and a third bank account. The car simply couldn't compete in a class filled with competent rivals like the Accord, Camry, and Fusion. Even at heavy discounts, buyers stayed away in droves. Today, the Sebring is symbolic of Chrysler's decline before Fiat took over. You won't find owners defending it, only people trying to unload theirs for pennies. It's not just a bad car. It's the kind of car that makes people lose faith in American sedans altogether. Number 24. 2002-2006 Jaguar XType. When Jaguar introduced the XType, they promised a more accessible entry into their storied brand. What they delivered was a luxury badge slapped onto a mediocre platform. Underneath its classy looks and upscale badge was a re-engineered Ford Mondeo, and it drove like it. From the moment you turned the key, the problems began. Transmission issues were rampant, the all-wheel drive system was fragile, and electrical failures came standard. It was a car that looked like a Jag but drove like a discount rental. Owners paid for prestige and got disappointment. Early signs of trouble included failing differentials, misfiring engines, and dashboard lights that never turned off. The XType was built during Jaguar's quality crisis, a dark era for the brand. Depreciation hit like a freight train. And soon these $30,000 plus cars were sitting on Craigslist for under $2,000, loaded with unresolved issues. Worse yet, Jaguar mechanics dreaded working on them. Parts were expensive, and repairs often required hours of labor, meaning owners were routinely quoted more than the car was worth. Many opted to scrap the car entirely rather than fix it. Even car enthusiasts, the ones who love restoring old machines, gave up on the XType. In the end, Jaguar's attempt to reach the masses only damaged its own name. The XType isn't just forgotten, it's infamous. A cautionary tale of badge engineering done wrong, and a lesson that prestige means nothing if the product underneath is broken. Number 25. 2005-2011 Chevrolet HHR. Chevy tried to tap into the retro craze with the HHR, short for Heritage High Roof, riding the coattails of the PT Cruiser. But instead of nostalgia, what buyers got was a confused design wrapped around a mountain of problems. Yes, it had good cargo space and respectable fuel economy, but that's where the praise ends. Electrical issues, steering column failures, and failing transmissions were common from early ownership. Inside, the cabin felt like a relic from a decade prior. The dashboard layout was awkward, the ergonomics were poor, the build materials were cheap, Even base models came with a sense of decay, as if the car was aging prematurely. And while Chevy hoped to appeal to younger buyers, the HHR ended up being more popular with rental fleets and corporate fleets, not exactly glowing endorsements. And things got even worse with time. Resale values collapsed, with many HHRs selling for a fraction of their original cost. Owners were plagued with constant issues: failing door locks, malfunctioning AC units, and random electrical gremlins. Many ended up at salvage auctions, with buyers often flipping them for parts rather than risking repair. Today, the HHR is one of the most forgotten vehicles in Chevrolet's lineup, and not because it's rare or misunderstood, but because it simply wasn't worth remembering. It's a case study in how chasing trends instead of substance can lead to disaster. Don't say we didn't warn you. Now that you've seen the list, you understand. These cars may look tempting. They may promise luxury, performance, or even prestige. But what they really offer is pain, regret, and a stack of repair bills that will drain your wallet and your patience. Owning one of these vehicles is like stepping into a beautiful house, only to find the floors are rotten and the roof leaks. We're not here to crush your dream car fantasies. We're here to protect you from them, the ones that turn into nightmares. Because no matter how shiny the badge, no matter how cheap the deal seems, there's always a cost. And sometimes that cost is far greater than the price tag. But now I want to hear from you. Have you ever owned one of the cars on this list? What was your experience? Good, bad, or downright catastrophic? Or maybe you dodged a bullet just in time. Let us know in the comments. Your story might save someone else from making the same mistake. And hey, if you found this video helpful, if it saved you from a $5,000 transmission replacement or a $3,000 air suspension collapse, do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a drop of real, honest car advice. This is more than just a list. This is a community, a place where car lovers and car survivors look out for each other. So stick around. We've got a lot more to talk about. Because in the car world, knowledge isn't just power, it's protection.